What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Blue Stable Podcast. I am your host, as always, Michael Pivia, joined by Marcus, joined by Landon. And this is the bye week show. I know we didn't record in the last 7 days. We were obviously deservingly enjoying our break from this horrendous football team, this horrendous season. We deserved a break. And now we are back. Some good things have happened for the Colts. And just real quick before we get started, if you do enjoy the Blue Stable Podcast, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to our YouTube. And if you don't, make sure if you're listening on audio, whether if it's Spotify, Apple, make sure you rate us and leave us a review. It really helps us out. So other than that, gentlemen, the Colts, the last time we spoke, the Colts were number 14 in the draft order, and they have shot all the way up to number 7 just by sitting at home this weekend. Some things went their way. There's a game going on currently right now that if the Cardinals are able to beat the Patriots, prayers up to Kyler Murray. If the Cardinals are able to pull it out, that would shoot the Colts up to 6. So things are looking good. Things are looking really good. But if you ask Jeff Saturday, there's 4 winnable games here coming up in the next month or so. So I don't really think anyone's trying to hear that anymore. That ship has sailed. I think the message is falling on deaf ears now. I mean, everybody might as well treat it like college. Hey, I'm out. Last 4 games. Prep me for free agency. Let's get it. Let's get it on. Appreciate the contract, but we out. But other than that, all right, we're not going to necessarily spend this episode talking too much about the Colts because really, I don't know how much of this roster is even going to be back next year. But we are going to touch on that here in a little bit. But we all know what the pick needs to be in April. Whether if you're number 1 or you're number 30, the pick has to be a quarterback. So we're going to talk some quarterback options, all right, because there's probably going to be like 4 that we're going to talk about, 4 or 5, and then we're going to talk about some trade back. How high do the Colts get or how low do they get, and could they trade back? Would that be a good or bad option for them to have? And then what do we always talk about? Y'all already know we do it. So other than that, guys, Landon, first guy I'm going to talk about from Alabama, okay? We're not going to talk in what we think they're, where they rank. We're just going to talk about quarterbacks because we'll get to our rankings in the offseason for these prospects. But Bryce Young, okay? What I want to focus on is, we don't know who the head coach and what the offensive system is going to be. So let's just talk about as a prospect and how they could possibly fit with the team, all right? So Bryce Young, let's start there. Landon.
Well, to me, he's a guy that can fit any team. He can fit any offensive system. He's extremely smart, able to play out of structure, accurate, just fantastic leadership ability. He's a gamer, man. He's everything you want in a franchise quarterback outside of size. And I always think the size comments are a little bit funny too, because people are like, oh, well, like, how is he going to hold up in the NFL? And like, this dude's now held up without any issue in the SEC for like 2 years now. I mean, it's not like he's playing in the Conference USA. Like, he's going up against multiple first round defenders, and he's been just fine. It hasn't been an issue, and that's a whole other topic there, because for whatever reason, I know it's as we get closer to the draft, we try to poke holes in guys and we create issues where there aren't issues. Now, like, every prospect, they have issues, but like, to me, like, if it doesn't show up on film and if it hasn't held somebody back, it's not an issue. It's a non-issue. So yeah, like the size, the so I've heard some people say about the accuracy and the arm strength and stuff like that. Like, one, he's extremely accurate, and his arm, like, while it's not Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, Josh Allen level, it hasn't held him back. He's able to make every throw required on the field. And, people seem to, I guess, not remember that you don't have to have a quarterback with a Josh Allen arm to be successful in the NFL or in football. So yeah, there's very little question marks for me about Bryce Young. I think he's absolutely fantastic. To me, he's one of the best. Like if this guy was like 3 inches taller and about like 40 pounds heavier, he would be the best quarterback prospect to me, like right up there with like Trevor Lawrence, since Andrew Luck. And that's how highly I think of him. So good chance we're not going to have a shot at him because all indications are he's more than likely going 1 overall to the Texans. Right, rightfully so. But yeah, I like so much about Bryce Young. I think the kid's going to be a great football player. I'm so excited to watch his career and how it unfolds. And just another unfortunate turn of events that it's once again an AFC South team that will be picking 1 overall and able to secure one of these, elite first overall quarterback picks. It seems like everybody but Tennessee, which I think is hilarious, has had that shot. Colts have Andrew Luck, Jags get Trevor Lawrence. Now the Texans more than likely getting Bryce Young, and yeah, we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, he's pretty awesome. He's a good player.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think he's a good talent as well. I think for the Colts, we just need a mobile quarterback in general. We're so tired of the pocket presence of quarterbacks that's not able to escape out of the pocket. So we just need a change of a new leaf to somebody that can move out of the pocket and make adjustments on the fly. And Young that has space to develop. You have all of these old quarterbacks that don't have any more upside in them, that pretty much done it all. Their arms are pretty much shot. The last successful quarterback we've seen since Luck retired was Philip Rivers in my eyes. And that was just about it from there. I mean, we've seen it all. Play action guru Jacoby Brissett, and it just goes worse from there. We even had fake Tom Brady, and he wasn't Tom Brady at all. But to be honest, this has to be our draft to go get a quarterback. I mean, we're not going to get Bryce Young, but if he was available, it'll be a dream come true for us because we need something like that. And then it makes it even better if you acquire him with playmakers already on the roster. Of course, we're going to talk about who's going to be on the roster next season. But when you look at the Texans, they got a young group, and it also depends on what they're going to do in free agency. If you're going to get a quarterback, you got to get them some weapons. And I think the Texans are a few pieces behind in that situation. But if the Colts was happen to get a guy like Bryce Young or mobile enough, I do think we'll have the better fit. But it is unfortunate, like Landon said, the AFC South is going out there and getting talented, and the Colts are still stuck in this carousel of who's going to be QB or what they want to do in general. They're still trying to talk about being competitive in games. But Bryce Young is a good talent. He is mobile, and I think he can be successful with any roster, especially if you stack him up with a good roster as well.
Yeah, the size argument for the Alabama quarterbacks, and that's been something that, with Tua, that was a question just because he got tackled one crazy way and it resulted in a hip injury. That tackle doesn't happen very often. I mean, freaking 350-pound man fell on him. Come on. But with Bryce Young, like Landon said, playing in the SEC, and even if you go back to that Georgia game last year in the national championship game, Georgia beat up on Alabama's offensive line. They were able to get to Bryce Young a little bit. And then some games that he went in this year, he showed that he can take some of a beating. He is stronger than what a lot of people give him credit for. So I am interested in that. Now, there could have been a little bit of more of a conversation, can somebody get to Bryce Young? But we know the Houston Texans couldn't have let that happen yesterday, right? They were about to win the game, and then they said, wait, hold on. Do we need to win the game or do we need to get Bryce Young? The organization made a decision and they completely sold at the last drive of the game and allowed Dallas to win the game. So they understand the assignment. They've known the assignment and they've understood since about week 5 what they needed to do. So obviously, I think it's maybe a foregone conclusion. Bryce Young could be going number 1, but then again, you still got to go to the Senior Bowl. You still got to go to the Combine. You got to go to the pro days. A lot of things can happen. A lot of things can change between now and April. I mean, how much of a Landon last year, how much of a foregone conclusion was Aiden Hutchinson as the number 1 pick talked about? And then 24 hours before the draft, Trayvon Walker's the guy, right? So these things are going to change, but we can't wait to see what these guys show at the Senior Bowl, the NFLPA Bowl, the Combine, all that good stuff. CJ Stroud is the next one. Now, this is one I'm not sure where the fans are because a lot of our indie-based fans kind of have seen CJ Stroud, as Indiana Hoosier fans, Purdue fans. He's beaten on them a lot. Now, with CJ Stroud and the old Ohio State quarterback, there's been some things talked about him saying that Michigan kind of exposed him a little bit in that game. But Landon, where are you on CJ Stroud? Okay, do you think, we're going to get to the other guys, but if you just had to say right now where he would be in your top 5 of quarterback prospects, where would you put him and why?
Well, like I don't normally do rankings. Like I don't necessarily do like quarterback rankings. I think it's almost kind of a waste of time because it's such a situation dependent position that depending on where a guy gets drafted and the situation he's put into, that drastically alters those rankings constantly. So, but I mean, like if I had to, it's not going to be a very popular opinion, but he'd probably be my quarterback 4 right now. And that's not necessarily to say that I dislike, CJ Stroud. I think he's a fantastic player. Really, really smart. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but talking to people from Ohio State and stuff like that, he actually has basically like a photographic memory where he's able to retain information at such a high rate um, that it's super impressive. And normally those type of guys that can retain information and process information quickly, they really end up, they do succeed. But I think what holds him back is one, his lack of creativity under pressure. He does seem to panic a lot whenever you put pressure in his face, which one, he's a young quarterback. Even the best quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, like these are guys with Hall of Fame careers that we've seen this year, that if you put pressure on them, they panic. But with the way that the league is evolving now and the ability, you're chasing that guy with the elusiveness and the mobility and the ability to create outside of structure when things break down. And he's a guy that to me things have to be perfect for. And you've got to have a good offensive line. You've got to have weapons that can win one-on-one outside. And if you have those things, he can win you a lot of ball games. He's got fantastic, accuracy. He's probably the most accurate quarterback in this class to me. Like I said, he's able to process things pre and post snap very quickly. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. He's really smart in his decision making, and he is a little bit more mobile than people give him credit for. But it's about the way he uses his mobility. He doesn't really take off. And he's not able to create. It's more about just getting outside the pocket and either throwing the ball away or kind of forcing. He does make panicky decisions whenever he's asked to create outside of structure. So just because of the way the league is evolving, that's really kind of why I would have him dropped down because you're wanting guys now that can create outside of that structure. Not only do you want, the quarterbacks that can create in structure, but you want guys that can create outside of structure when things go bad. The Mahomes, the Allens, even Joe Burrow, a guy like that, he's very adept at, maneuvering in the pocket, getting outside of, the pocket and making something happen. That's just the way the league is heading right now. And I think when you look at a guy like CJ Stroud, he's almost like a throwback. Like 10 years ago, CJ Stroud to me is like the surefire number 1 overall pick in this draft. But the way that the league has evolved over the last even 5 years, it's just, I guess it's the way it's heading. It just makes it hard to take a guy that you're going to have to surround with the perfect situation to succeed. That's kind of where I stand on it.
Yeah,
I still like
all
him.
of that. Yeah, all of that makes perfect sense. What you mentioned there, and I do think C.J. Stroud, is a good quarterback, but he definitely might be one of the drafts like a draft prospect that drops in the draft and goes to a situation that might benefit him very well. I know the Jets had him on the radar, and if he goes to a team like with Salah as the head coach, I think that'd be perfect because they do need another quarterback. I don't think Zach Wilson is the answer, but that'd be a good fit for him. And the Jets always usually have good off seasons and decent drafts as well. So I do see a scenario like that happening. If Stroud was on the radar for the Colts, I don't know how confident we'll be in drafting him that high if we do have a higher pick than the Jets. But I do like him as a talent. But of course, I still do have that mantra of the Ohio State thing over his head as the QB. So I still don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. I'm sorry, I am one of them. But it is what it is. Until one of them got to prove
Don't
it to
do
me.
this.
They got to prove it to me. I'm sorry.
What do you
It's
mean
just like
prove
that.
it? What do you mean
I
prove
mean,
it?
like all the Ohio State quarterbacks except Justin Fields,
Okay, so
kind of.
where have all the great quarterbacks come from?
Well, they came from all over, but
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't
So
think,
then
yeah. But
like
I don't
there's
really.
no quarterback factory out there. I mean, it's just this is one of the biggest things. What I always echo: scout the player, not the program.
I agree 100%. But if Ohio State had a factory, it would be a terrible factory. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying because they haven't really
Justin
produced.
Fields looking pretty good right now.
He's all right. I mean, he's still stepping into his own too, and he has a new head coach, so I do give him an exception. So I agree with you on that part. But like I said, until one of them, step up and maybe he takes a leap next year, I will get off of that bandwagon. But like I said, he's a good talent, of course, college wise. Hopefully, it transpires to the NFL. But again, you didn't mention it got to be a good situation for him. But I think he gets a head coach, a player coach like Salah from the Jets. I think it'll be good fit for him. But I don't think the Colts get it.
Yeah, that cloud hanging over some prospects. Obviously, we hold on to that sometimes, but also like Landon, we've talked about Marcus. We've talked about how in the draft process there is no, oh no, we want to wait and see what he can become. No, he's either good or he's bad today, and there is no debating some people. So with CJ Stroud, that was my biggest thing. I'm interested to see how he tests when he goes to Indy, when he goes to the combine, because like Landon said, he's a guy who doesn't necessarily use his legs the way he really needs to, because especially in that Michigan game, there were so many instances where, dude, like you have open grass in front of you, go, and he's trying to make a play with his arm, and you appreciate that, you admire that, trying to throw the ball, make a winning throw, but at the same time, you just also got to take what the defense gives you, and they're giving you 15, 20 yards, and you're not taking it. And instead of first down in business inside the 30, 20-yard line, you're now at the 50-yard line on 3rd and 10, 4th and 10, because you were just hesitant to use the legs, but the arm, he's making all the throws, he's doing all the reads, so feel good there. Where should we go next, Landon? Because the next two are definitely two very popular names inside the Colts fan base. So let's go with the fan favorite, right?
Well,
Let's
I
start.
don't know if you would say popular. It would be more notorious at this point.
Right, it's notorious. There are no other quarterbacks.
Every post I make about either one of these two guys, I get told how awful they are and how much I'm of an idiot I am. So
yes, because in the NFL, 20, 21, and 23-year-olds are finished products, right? So let's start with the fan favorite, Anthony Richardson, AR-15, all right? The new Patrick Mahomes. Let's go ahead and call that, because that's what we're already calling him on Twitter. So
I've not heard that one. So that's
Patrick Mahomes, man.
No, they're nothing alike. They're absolutely nothing alike.
But first off, I'm actually kind of surprised he did declare for the draft. I thought, okay, maybe another year in Florida. Okay, he just got his new coach, Billy Napier, got the culture, got the new offensive system in. Let's see. I would have figured he maybe would take another year in that, but he's betting on himself, and the stock is high right now. Looking to cash in, looking to, obviously, being a first-round draft pick comes with some of this, but also he is, I guess you could say, right now today, is it fair to call him the ultimate boom or bust prospect in this draft?
Absolutely. I think he's the biggest boom or bust prospect since Josh Allen in the last few drafts as far as the quarterbacks go.
Thank God. Thank you for not saying Andrew Luck.
No, well, Andrew Luck was not a bust prospect at all. He was strictly boom. There was only one, that guy was going to be successful no matter where he went. He's one of literally the 1%, the upper quartile of the upper quartile of quarterback prospects. That's Andrew Luck. But when it comes to Anthony Richardson, this is a guy that the more I've dug in on the film as the years progressed, the more I love him. Like I really do. And I had this conversation. I don't know if you guys haven't listened to it. I got on with Locked On Colts with Zach Hicks and Emery Hunt. We did a conversation about, Emery covered Anthony Richardson. I covered Will Levis, but we had a really, great conversation on that show. So go check that podcast out and give those guys some support. But Anthony Richardson's a guy that I've really grown on, especially as the years gone on, because early on you saw what makes him such, I guess, an enigma in people's eyes. The first game in Utah, he was just lights out. He killed, Utah. It was incredible. The jump up, 360 pass like that. I mean, that's just crazy stuff. It's crazy. But then, over the next few games, you really saw the struggles set in with a guy like that. And what makes it so exciting to me is as the year went on, you saw the footwork improve. You saw the accuracy improve. You saw, really some high level NFL stuff that he was putting out on tape. And I think that's why guys are so enamored with him. And one of the funniest arguments to me is like, whenever you talk about guys going back to school, we hear it all the time, like, well, this guy needs, he needs more coaching. Like, he needs to go back to college. Where better to get coaching from than in the NFL? There's no better coaching you can get than in the NFL. I mean, yeah, you can go back to college and have to deal with schoolwork and finals and limited practices and all that stuff, or you can become a professional and eat, sleep, and breathe football and improvement 24/7 and get paid a lot more money to do it. So I always find that argument funny when guys are like, hey, he needs to go back to school. He needs more coaching. Well, you're not going to get any better coaching than you're going to get in the NFL. And yeah, this is one of my favorite sayings actually down here that this JDW Sports Talk out. Yeah, talent determines floor, character determines ceiling. That's absolutely true. And with a guy like Anthony Richardson, I think he's a very strong character guy, a very strong leadership guy. I put out some posts, not too long ago. I actually put one out today, just some stuff, just scrolling through Twitter and seeing what other people are saying about him, because I get kind of curious to see what other people's opinions are. But he's a guy to me that as the year went on, he improved dramatically in some very key areas. And that shows growth. And what that shows me when you're growing is you're working and you have a work ethic and you're able to, take coaching and put that stuff out on film, and not only in the practice, facility, whenever you're throwing to wide open guys, but you're able to take that coaching and put it into the game and execute it. And I think that's awesome. So Cameron Ward, man, I love Cameron Ward. But I don't know if Cam's coming out this year. Probably not, I would imagine. But
I was about to say, has he declared yet?
Yeah, he hasn't. But his dad did like a post very similar to what I was just talking about, where I was saying, guys go back to college. They want guys to go back to college and get coaching, but there's no better coaching in the NFL. Cameron Ward's dad actually liked that post. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, maybe, is he coming out or not? I don't know. But when it comes to Anthony Richardson, this is a guy that he has every tool you could possibly want from a franchise. I mean, like, we're talking about if you were to tell me the ceilings of all of these guys, and like a guy like CJ Stroud could be top 10 quarterback, Bryce Young could be a top 10 quarterback. If you were to tell me 4 or 5 years from now that Anthony Richardson's, it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Anthony Richardson, I wouldn't bat an eyelash. That's how talented this kid is. He's got arm strength, he's got mobility, he's got size. He's got, like I said, his footwork improved dramatically as the year went on. So he's got some very, very interesting tools to work with. And on top of that, hard worker, great leader in the locker room, loves to be around his teammates. The guy loves football. So yeah, he's a guy that I've really grown on. And to me, I'm having a very hard time. I struggle really hour to hour right now between which guy I want the Colts to draft more, if it's him or more than likely the next guy we're going to talk about. But that's my stance on Anthony Richardson. Big fan of him. I don't think he's as raw as what people think he is. I just think his biggest concerns to me right now are, one, inconsistency, and two, inexperience. He only started 13 games in college. So this is a guy, he just needs reps and he needs, consistency, and he just needs coaching, and if you can be patient with a guy like that, key word, if you're listening, patient, that means he's not going to look like an all-pro in the first game, and we're not going to bury him 4 games into his career. But if you can be patient with a guy like that, you could really, really reap the rewards in a big way, and you could possibly have one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for probably the next decade.
Yeah, I like the ceiling that AR-15 has as a talent. Of course, he has the mechanics and what you want out of a quarterback, but he does have some flaws as well. But of course, he's not going to be a top 3 pick. So I mean, you can't really go out and cancel him out if he has a bad season or if he has a good season, because you got to look at the team he's going to as well. Because I mean, he has the ceiling, but if he has nothing around him supporting him to develop and get better, to make those reads or to hit those targets, maybe the wide receiver may drop the football, or maybe the offensive line doesn't hold up and he makes that perfect read. I mean, it's going to be a lot of scenarios surrounding AR-15 development going into the NFL and when he gets drafted. But again, he's not the top 2 quarterback. He's just a guy with a high ceiling that has the potential to be good. He can potentially be the biggest sleeper in the draft as well, and there's nothing wrong with that because it's not a lost pick. If you win something, I mean, it's like a win-win situation because you can win development or you can just win in the draft in general because you're not really losing anything from getting him. So in general, I do think he's a good talent, even though he went to that school that I despise. But he's still a good talent. You can still watch him play, and he's going to be exciting to watch. And that's another thing you got to look out for these quarterbacks, especially for a guy like him. He plays exciting football. Like when Sam Ellinger stepped on the field from the Colts, he wasn't the best, but you wanted to see him play and go out there because he's going to make a play out of nothing. Not comparing the two, I'm just talking about the excitement from what you see from that QB play. And I do think he can be one of those guys out the draft. And if he gets to a good spot and he gets a team that can develop him, get a good head coach, and actually surround the team around him, he could be one of those guys at the draft that a lot of people missed on.
Let's move on to Will Levis now. The man who puts mayonnaise in his coffee. Mayonnaise and coffee grounds. Definitely a combination for the ages. And since him being from Kentucky, we also have Landon that is from Kentucky. Landon.
Wait. He's not from Kentucky.
He's not from Kentucky, but he plays for Kentucky. Landon, you need to answer for this. Why are we putting mayonnaise? Why are we putting that in coffee? Not honey, not local honey to help with the allergies, the sinuses, not peppermint,
It really boils down to, I know a lot of people don't, they're not really fitness and healthy, people and stuff like that. It's a big thing in the keto community, man. You gotta get those weights up, get that keto diet going. It's a good way to get easy fat, good energy. That's what it's all about. If you've seen Will Levis, dude, built like a brick shit house. So it's obviously working for him. I'm not going to criticize the man's diet whenever he's looking that shredded. So
I'm not questioning diet. I'm questioning character. I feel like that's a character thing when we start putting mayonnaise.
Yeah, and then too, like he eats the. I've seen too. He eats the banana with the peel. He eats the whole banana.
My!
Yeah, eats bananas with the peel. Everybody's
are we drafting the Grinch or what?
If you did not know, the rind of the banana holds the most nutrients so he's way healthier than everybody's making fun of him, but that dude's getting a lot of nutrients. He's getting good healthy fats, depending on what kind of mayonnaise he's using. Hopefully he's using avocado oil mayonnaise and not sunflower oil mayonnaise. I'm just saying if we want to get health conscious.
All right. Out there looking like Channing Tatum. All right.
Yeah, he's a bad dude. So the Colts about to draft the Grinch. Leave my man alone. Yeah.
Right. Hey man, Will Levis is my favorite quarterback.
He's able to work through adversity. Okay, that shows character.
Yeah, man, he's putting himself through the adversity. So,
you ever heard of David Goggins?
Huh?
You ever heard of a guy named David Goggins?
I believe so. Yeah.
Go look up David Goggins. Look, one of his big mantras is "Stay hard." That's what. Stay hard, baby. You got to stay hard. You got to put yourself in uncomfortable situations so you're always ready. That's what Will Levis is doing.
He takes the saying through.
I'm trying to understand what mayonnaise is going to help with with an NFL scheme. Like, is he gonna put mayonnaise on his hands and it grips the football? I mean, it can if you're talking about avocado oil mayonnaise. But hey, man, let's get away from the diet and everything. Okay, that was just a little joke we wanted to, bring to the show, have some laughs. But realistically, man, okay, this is my favorite quarterback in the draft, Will Levis. I mean, I wasn't watching too much of Kentucky, all right? But when I went and started looking at some film, started looking at some games, going back and watching some, man, this guy has all the tools you want in a quarterback, all right? Landon, Will Levis, the guy who I think will be the better pro out of everyone in this class at the quarterback position. Of course, that's just my opinion here in December. What is it, December 12th? That's just my opinion. But
how dare you?
yeah, take the keys, man. Talk about Will Levis and what you expect from him, not only from what you've seen thus far, but you expect him to make some kind of a jump, maybe to number 1 overall in the draft.
I don't see him getting there. I don't see him getting number 1 overall. I mean, nothing's ever out of the question with the NFL. As we all know, things can change so much. But when it comes to Will, obviously, if you followed me, for a while, you know how big of a fan of his I am. I love the guy to death. He's and it's not necessarily coming from a place of, I'm from Kentucky, he's from Kentucky, Kentucky boys got to stick together, blah blah blah. Like, it has nothing to do about that. It's actually removing myself from the situation and looking at it from, I don't have rose-colored glasses on. It's from a very neutral standpoint. He is not the perfect prospect. He definitely has a lot of stuff to work on. But in a weird way, this might be the only guy whose job actually gets easier going from college to the NFL. So if you're wondering why, I'll give you some cool stats here, or not really cool, depending on how you think of it. So Will Levis in college was under pressure on 37.8% of all dropbacks this season. The average in the NFL is 33.6. So already he's more than likely going to be pressured less than he was in college. 110 targets thrown of 10 plus yards downfield this season. 46.4% were charted as tight window throws. That means he's throwing to guys that cannot get open. The average in the NFL, 39.7%. So already you're in a better situation with better wide receivers. And despite all that, and we know the big thing is he makes bad decisions. He turns the ball over, all that stuff. Only a 3% turnover rate or turnover-worthy play rate under pressure. So when he's under pressure, what happens? Can he handle pressure? Well, good news is he's under pressure a lot. So if he comes to the Colts, he might, know what that's like a little bit. But he doesn't turn the ball over under pressure. He's actually the best quarterback in the entire nation under pressure when it comes to all the advanced metrics. He performs the best under pressure out of every other quarterback in the nation. So really why people don't like him is because they look at the box score. They look at the stats. And they're like, oh man, look at those stats. He didn't throw, look at the Vanderbilt game, look at the Florida game. He didn't perform, he didn't throw for 400 yards and 5 touchdowns like these guys. Well, look, I mean, I don't know what else, I can say other than he was in, like I said earlier, he was in the worst situation of all of these top prospects at quarterback. I mean, this guy was asked on a weekly basis to carry that Kentucky team on his back. He's, multiple freshman wide receivers and tight ends. One of the worst offensive lines. I believe they were 80th in the nation in pass blocking win percentage. That's not good. And then on top of that, you're running a scheme that's very ball control related, where they're running the football a lot. He's not able to sling it downfield. They did not draw up plays for him down the field, almost never. It was really run the ball, 3rd and long, screen pass, or slant. And that was their offense. And that's why after 1 year, they fired their offensive coordinator at Kentucky. So obviously things didn't work out there. And then you obviously too have to take into the account the injuries really zapped his mobility. This was a guy that just last year ran for almost 500 yards and double-digit touchdowns. He has the turf toe this year, really zaps his mobility and his ability to dictate how defenses play him. And it affects a big part of his game. So I've even read today somebody was saying, oh well, he's not mobile, he's not a mobile quarterback. I mean, is he Lamar Jackson? No. Is he Anthony Richardson mobility wise? No, he's not. Can he absolutely make plays in the run game for you? Yes. And especially the quarterback sneaking. Let's talk about 22 of 23 on quarterback sneaks in college. Come on. It doesn't get any better than that. So yeah, and that's just not even getting into what really makes this guy special for me. And that is what's inside of him. And I know this is like such an old school coach,
cliche.
I'm about to talk about grit. I'm about to talk about character, toughness,
Dan Orlovsky,
leadership. But this stuff is how people scout in the NFL. Like, these are real things that people look for. When I want to know how a guy, this guy takes his offensive lineman out to a steak dinner every weekend. Every weekend he takes these guys out.
So he got money like that.
And they're not really protecting him. And he's still taking care of his guys.
Better than me.
Yeah. And I mean, on top of that, he uses his NIL money to bring awareness to, teammates, to other, charity causes. This is a guy that represents not only, himself, but he represents a university, he represents a team, and really the whole state in a very positive manner. And that's what you're getting. That's what you're looking for as your franchise quarterback. Is you want a guy that can come in, he can galvanize the locker room, make guys play hard for him. This guy is a phenomenal leader. I mean, just dynamite leader. And it's not fake. Like, it's not organic. You have some guys come in and they go out of their way to be fake and phony and try to put on a show. Like, no, that's just who this dude is. So, big fan of who he is as a person, big fan of who he is as far as the locker room goes. And then you look at the physical tools on top of that, the release, the arm strength, the mobility, all that kind of stuff. He has it in spades. So really, to me, what I'm looking for now from him is, one, I want to see him get healthy going into the combine. I want to see that turf toe injury taken care of. He had a banged up shoulder as well a little bit this season from getting hit so much. So I want to see that get healthy. And then I'm looking for growth from his footwork and his base and some of the he does have a little bit of like a release thing where it does make it hard for him to throw touch passes very efficiently. He has to change up his motion. But all these things are very, very easily ironed out. The only downside is he is going to be 24 whenever he starts his rookie season. So he is a little bit older of a guy, but I think, with the way that he works, it's very similar to how I felt about, Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen, because I was really big fans of those guys, even though there were tons of question marks about them both coming out of college, if they could ever be NFL level passers. But you see the work ethic and you see the way these guys handle themselves and the way they're able to galvanize teammates, to play for them and stuff like that. And that stuff always translates to the next level to me. And that's it. I get the same feeling from Will Levis. And that's why I'm, is he a coach's son? His granddad was a coach at, I believe, Yale for like almost 25 years. So he did grow up in a football family. And do teammates show up to his birthday? Yes, they did. No question. I know that was a draft day cliche thing. It was just kind of a joke. But, to answer those questions, yes. But yeah, that's I think very highly of Will, and that's just because I'm the most comfortable. With being in Kentucky, I've spoken to a lot of people close to the program that know the ins and outs of what that guy has done there over the last couple of years, and everybody you talk to will just rave about who he is as a player and as a person. And to me, that makes me a lot more comfortable with trusting a guy like that with the keys to the franchise.
Yeah, man. I think Levis, with arm strength, pure one of the things that the Colts don't have is a huge bonus if the Colts acquire him in the draft. And I think he's going to have a good combat day as well, just due to his technique and what he can do with the football. But this also, as you were promoting him on the stream of how good he can be and his potential, it started to sadden me as well because we know the Colts' history of draft picks and how they might like somebody and they just skip over and don't get them and get somebody else. It makes me sad because I hope this is not one of those scenarios. And when they do it again, they have so many people on their board and they just go over it and get something else. And this is the year when you really cannot take that risk. You have to get a quarterback. There's so many guys in this draft. And of course, we had chances like this in the past, but this is the scenario, especially if you're adamant about not going through that quarterback carousel again. You got to get a guy like Will Levis, especially if he's available for your team. And of course, like I say, he's going to have a good combat day, and his talent is definitely off the charts. Definitely puts him up there on that list. It's a reason why so many people are talking about him, not just Mel Kiper Jr., but there's a lot of guys that's mentioning his ability of what he can do, and he'd probably be one of the most NFL ready quarterbacks in this draft. I do think the coach should get him, man, hands down. And if we miss out on another opportunity of getting the quarterback, I don't know what I'm going to do. Of course, we're going to mention that again when we move on to the next segment. But I do think Levis is one of the most NFL ready quarterbacks in this draft for sure.
And one thing that I want to talk about, or one thing that I just want to say, really, guys, this is the draft. Like, I get it. We feel very strongly about our opinions. We feel strongly and we side with some experts out there. But every year, it's a trend all the time in every fan base. But in this year, it annoys me that Will Levis gets so much hate for some unknown reason, and Anthony Richardson gets loved so much, but yet Will Levis is the guy more pro ready than Anthony Richardson. And I'm just saying, Anthony Richardson is not a guarantee. Will Levis is not a guarantee. Bryce Young is not a guarantee. Like, let's embrace all of these quarterbacks instead of just honing in on one guy. So when you listen to Landon, when you listen to myself, when you listen to guys like Zach Hicks, when you listen to draft experts, okay, I'm not in that class. I was just saying Landon and Zach are more in that class. But when you listen to these guys, listen to their analysis. Don't just say, oh my gosh, I like that guy because I saw one Florida game against Missouri and Anthony Richardson torched him. No, it's not how it works. If that was the way drafting works, boy, you would be in trouble. You would be really in trouble. Oh, I mean, the Colts are in trouble right now. So, but look, I'm just saying, be open-minded, embrace all of these prospects, embrace them all, because one of them are going to be our guy. One of them. Hopefully. Turns out Peter's
well, hopefully. But I'll say this to kind of like I'll say this to just kind of make a point. So fans will generally focus on the negative aspects of players more than anybody. And that's fine. I'm not holding an average fan's, opinion. It's not like I dismiss their opinion at all, but I'm just saying I'm not holding it to the same standard that I hold, actual scouts or, stuff like that. But what you're looking for whenever you're scouting the quarterbacks, and what I focus on and how I learned on how to like look at prospects in general, but really just quarterbacks especially, is I want to look at what they do well first. I want to look at who they are as people and as players, as far as it concerns, their toughness, their character, their work ethic and stuff like that. Then we can get on to the on-field stuff. But when you're looking on field, you're looking at all the positives they bring and how their skill sets from a positive standpoint can affect, how does it fit your team? How does it fit your culture? How does this prospect fit into your organization? And then after that, then we can start talking into, well, what do they have to clean up? And really the big reason, I think I've talked about this on the show too, when you're looking at, the negatives of a prospect, you're looking at not necessarily what happened, you're looking at why. So why did he struggle? Why is this not a strong part of his game? Sometimes it's as easy as he just doesn't have the ability. A lot of the time when you're talking about high level prospects like this, though, a lot of it has to do with what they're asked to do within an offense, the players and talent around them, the situations. And we see this every year in the NFL where talented players get put in bad situations and they don't look good. Look at last year with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was the can't miss prospect, for a lot of people. And you put him in an organization with Urban Meyer and a bad roster around him, he didn't play good football. And that's just part of it. So it's almost like trying to see the forest through the trees. Where I'm not here to sit here and constantly gloat on these guys, because they do have issues they need to clean up. Will Levis does have issues. Anthony Richardson does have issues. CJ Stroud does have issues. But I want to look at the positives, and I want to look at the things they do well, and I want to look at their football character. I want to look at their personal character, and I want to figure out how they fit into this Colts organization and how they're able to, or if they're even able to, possibly be that franchise guy. And after that, then we can start looking at the negatives and say, okay, well, why is this a negative? And how can we fix this and turn this into at least a net, positive? It doesn't have to be a major positive, but if we can clean this stuff up, how much more does this increase this guy's ceiling? So that's just kind of like how I view the process, how I go about the process, how I learned to scout quarterbacks, from guys like, I know it's kind of a weird thing, but like, guys that I've learned from like Bruce Arians, that was a big, the guy that taught me how to look through quarterbacks was a guy that learned from Bruce Arians. And Bruce Arians is one of the best quarterback, minds that has ever played the game. So I take a lot of weight into what I was taught and what I was told and how to view these guys. And that's why I do kind of have the old school mentality of I'm looking for, grit and toughness. And everybody's like, well, what's grit? What even is that? And it's really, like I said, your ability to, when things break down, when you're under pressure, when all the cards are stacked against you, how do you respond? And guys like Will Levis respond in spades. They toughen up and they do their best to make good of a situation. Guys like Anthony Richardson, it's the same way. This is a guy that he will work his ass off, and you saw the results. As the season progressed, you saw those results play. And so let's just not focus so much. I'm just, asking people, let's just not focus so much on the negatives of guys. Can we critique guys? Absolutely. But this whole thing of, well, this guy can't do this, he sucks. Let's get out of that mentality and ask ourselves, why can't a guy do this? Why was this part of the evaluation? And how do we clean this up? And let's just kind of get into that mindset when we're looking at these guys, because there's no such thing as a perfect quarterback unless you're talking about Andrew Luck. So that's just my
all right. Hey, man. That's all we ask of y'all.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Oh, Jesus. Yep. You just got told on the Blue Stable podcast. But let's jump into real quick, Marcus, bring up that comment. You know which one I'm talking about. Not that one. Oh. That, and this is from Lucas. Oh. Well, first off, it's not even confirmed yet Quentin is going to the draft or not. They're prepping for the college football playoff. That decision probably won't come until January. But I will hate it if we didn't go quarterback, because we're going to have all these weapons, but no quarterback to use them. So go quarterback, man. Go quarterback, get the quarterback and get it figured out. So now another aspect to the draft that we're going to want to talk about. And just so, cannot believe we're doing this, but like live updates, Arizona leads New England 13-10 at halftime. Arizona wins. The Colts move up to number 6 in the draft order. So yes, sir. Yes. Man, we are so pathetic. So let's just say the Colts are somewhere between 6 6 and 10. Let's just say they're somewhere between 6 and 10. And Chris Ballard is retained as general manager. And we always know, he said it since day one. He loves draft picks. He loves draft capital. He gets approached. You know, whichever. Oh, man, there's two ways we can go about this, okay? He gets approached by a team wanting to trade up for maybe an edge rusher. Maybe if they're at number 6 and Will Anderson is still on the board, which is probably a long shot, but maybe he's still on the board, right? And somebody wants to come up and get him. Or, you know, there's a quarterback and somebody wants to jump Indianapolis and they trade with another team. In that event, should the Colts, would it be in their best interest to trade back? Could we've been begging for draft position this whole time and they end up falling back to 15 because they traded back and at least they got a couple picks, right? And knowing Chris Ballard, he probably used it like on a guard or something, like Andrew Voorhees maybe. So, Marcus, I'm gonna start with you right here. Trade back. Are you for it in any scenario? Are you for a trade back in April?
If it's not the first round, yeah. Like I said, I think we all know that we have to get a quarterback this year. So, of course, if you want to trade back later, because we know most of his Ballard and the Colts' success in draft picks are later on in the draft anyway, I'm all for it. But this year, if you're in the first round, you have to get a quarterback this year. If you want to wait next year, I don't know how much trust I have of you if Ballard is still the GM, as you may say. But this year, no, I'm not a fan of it this year, the first round. I think we need to get a quarterback whenever we get our first shot this year.
Landon, where are you at with this, man? Trade back. You like it? You love it? You hate it? Where are you at?
Please no. I'm done. I'm done with the trade back. You know, I'm done with the defensive and offensive guards and lineback. Like I'm done with it all. Get a damn quarterback. If you feel strongly about a guy, and I know for a fact that they like multiple guys in this class, and they feel strongly about multiple guys in this quarterback class, get the one you covet the most when you have the opportunity. And a lot of the time, you know, draft history shows us that most successful quarterbacks come within the top 10 picks of the draft. That's just the way it goes. So if you feel strongly about a guy, you know, there's no reason to trade back. Get your guy finally and just be done with it. And we can start this process of developing and supporting a young quarterback. So yeah, I'm 100% off of team trade back. I'm done with it. So yeah, just get a damn quarterback.
Yes, I'm there. I'm there. Just get a quarterback. Don't fiddle around with anything else. Like just get your quarterback. I mean, this is going to be what, year 7 for Chris Ballard, and this is going to be what, year 5 without Andrew Luck. So you have to take the shot at some point. You have to take the shot. Like as that narrative out there that maybe he's a little scared to take that for job security's sake. Oh well, your job is already on the line.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, like that job security is gone.
Like you're probably already on the line as well. Like you have to get the quarterback. I love Will Anderson. I love Tyree Smith. I love Jackson Smith and Jigba. I love Quentin Johnston if he declares. I don't care about those guys if the quarterback is not on the roster. I don't. So get your quarterback. No, don't get an extra second round pick next year, and you'll look at the class next year. You'll evaluate, oh, we like where we're at, or, you know, we'll see what these guys do. No, get the quarterback. That's what I wanted to ask for everybody. If you think the Colts, what do you guys think about the aspect, the idea of the Colts trading back? Are you for it? Let us know in the comment section, and Marcus will be popping them up here, and we'll be interacting with those. So the last debate that we want to get into is obviously the inevitable, the conversations that are going to be made about the players currently on the roster. You're going to get a new head coach. That's a given. You're going to get a new head coach, possibly, most likely a new defensive coordinator, a new offensive coordinator as well. So getting rid of players, whether if it's trading, cutting, whatever the case may be. But let's focus on trading here a little bit because there are some candidates out there. I think we all know what the biggest one is, and we'll get to him in a little bit. But starting a little bit small, all right? Trade or cut or keep on Mo Alley Cox, Landon.
I mean, if you can trade him, great. I mean, I think if you can get anything of value for him, you should do that. But if you can't, I am in the cut camp at this point. I mean, he had this was his opportunity this year to step up, to be the alpha, to be the guy in that tight end room. And while he might be, inside the building, he might be that guy in that room. On the field, it hasn't translated. He's his strong suit was supposed to be his blocking. It has really fallen off. He can't create in the pass game. He's very inconsistent. So, yeah, I would say at this point he would probably be a cut candidate. And really, if the money was right, I could see keeping him. But with the contract and stuff, it just makes too much sense to save the cap space and just kind of move on. Unfortunately, because I like Mo Alley Cox. I think he's really good guy. I'm gonna stick up for players like I always do, but it's just tough. Like it's a tough position to play, the tight end, and he's coming from a basketball background and you're learning the position in the NFL. Like that's so difficult, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out. So you just gotta cut your losses.
Just didn't work out, huh? I think it worked out. He's stealing $18 million from the Indianapolis Colts. I think it worked out pretty good for him.
Well, it worked out for him. I'm just saying, like, as far as that goes.
Man. Marcus, where are you at, man?
Well, yes, Mike, we know where you stand at with the situation. When it comes to Big Mo, man, I mean, like, I don't even see him as a valuable trade option. I mean, when you look at what he can do or what he can bring, it's like we can get that out the draft. I mean, he's tall, he can be physical, but I mean, there's so many Mo Alley Cox in the future that you can draft without a contract attached to him. I don't know where you would get a value from him at all. So I think, like Landon said, I think cutting might be the only option if we were to get rid of him. Like I said, I don't think he's valuable out of a trade unless you get like a 6th round pick from him or a 5th. Personally,
oh man, if you go back to free agency and you just see that class of free agents, and Chris Ballard opted to prioritize him for 3 years, that was probably his worst ever decision as general manager. If you just look at overall contract value, it's probably the worst contract he's ever handed out as general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. And hey, maybe that's a good thing. It took him 6 years to do it, right? Hey, now let's go to Ryan Kelly because this one is a popular one. Okay, in my opinion, I talked about it last offseason. I thought the move should have been made last offseason, but now we're here again. There's 4 weeks left into the season, but we're only talking about the inevitable. We're only talking about the conversations that are going to be had if they haven't been had already inside the Colts organization. So, Landon, Ryan Kelly, trade, cut, or keep?
Cut. I mean, once again, if you can trade him and get anything of value back, you absolutely do it. But the reality is nobody's probably picking up that contract with the way his play has been. And I think it's been up and down. I don't think it's necessarily been completely bottomed out like a lot of people think. I think he's had some games where, he's really strong, and then the next game he's bottomed out. So he's somewhere around, slightly below average. But you're paying somebody that much money slightly below average. And it's really at this point, it's not just a few bad games. It's going all the way back to last year. And the unfortunate situations with his family and stuff, and your heart really goes out to them. And that's tough for anybody. We always forget these guys are humans at the end of the day. We think they're just robots that just suit up and go out and play. And we don't ever look at the personal issues that they deal with and the mentality and the mental drain that it takes, not only just to play football, but to have an everyday life and to have a tragedy of that magnitude. It really does. It makes it hard to come back from. So, um, that being said, results are what they are. It's not working out. You can save a lot of money on the cap. And I do like a lot of the centers in this class in the second and third round. I think there's some really great guys. John Michael Schmitz is one of my guys. I'm absolutely enamored with him. I think he is incredible. And he would be a plug and play guy day one, especially next to Quentin Nelson. You're talking about that dude has like the Quentin Nelson mentality where he just wants to break you every play. Ryan Kelly doesn't really have that mentality. He's more of like a mental guy that's just gonna, he's gonna play smart, not gonna be penalized a lot. But he's not aggressive in a sense. And John Michael Schmidt is very aggressive, to say the least. So pairing a guy like that next to Quentin Nelson, and especially protecting a young quarterback and allowing your center and your young quarterback to grow together, that's invaluable right there. So that's probably the route I would go.
Marcus.
For Ryan Kelly, I think he might have some type of trade value. But that only goes down to the Colts. If the Colts are good enough in baiting an NFL team to acquiring Ryan Kelly for maybe a day 3 or a day 2 late, I think it's possible. Just due to Ryan Kelly's name and his accolades of what he's done over his career, I think a team would be interested potentially in a veteran center because maybe he might be a last minute option and the team waited too long to acquire one and he can be available up for grabs. So I do think Ryan Kelly can be traded to a team that's willing to get a center of like a Ryan Kelly. I mean, like I said, his 2 years, this year and last year, isn't doing him any justice. But I do think he's still available to get traded to an NFL team. It's possible.
Here's an interesting one. Now his contract is up, but now we're getting into should we re-sign him or just let him walk? Yannick Ngakoue, pass rusher. He's probably going to cost some money. I think his current contract, if I have it up right here, I think his current contract is $14.3 million. Could be looking to make some of that and more on this next deal. Landon, are you re-signing or letting him walk?
Not re-signing him for that. No. The only way I'll probably re-sign him is if he takes a pay cut and he takes a, kind of a backseat role, a rotational role, to where we can put him in on pass rush packages and let him go do his thing. But as far as being a 3-down guy in the NFL and making money of a 3-down edge rusher, he's just not that guy. He's a rotational guy that's able to give you some pass rush on 3rd and longs and 3rd down, NASCAR packages, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's if he's wanting that and he's wanting a big role, or a bigger role, a 3-down role, that's a guy I'm probably letting walk. Unfortunately, and it sucks too because we gave up a cornerback, in Rock Ya-Sin that's been absolutely lights out this season. He's been phenomenal. One of the only bright spots on that entire Raiders defense at all. So it sucks, but hey, you take the swings, you win some, you lose some, but and I like Yannick a lot as a person. It's nothing against him, what he does in the community, and hopefully he finds a home. But like I said, if you're wanting 14 million and a 3-down role, I would probably go about 10 million and maybe a little bit less. And like I said, a rotational role, because I do think he could be a very effective rotational player along the defensive line. I think that could be a really strong role for him. But if he's not willing to accept that, then I'll probably just let somebody else sign him to a huge deal. And, it is what it is.
When you talk pay cut, where would you cap it?
11 would probably be as high as I would go.
Okay. I just wanted to get your general sense of where that would be.
Yeah, probably 11, and some of that's incentive based as well.
Yep.
I think you could have incentives, bump it up to 14.
Snap counts, number of sacks. Yep.
Yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, I think base salary, I would probably go about 10. Would be 10 to 11 is where I would kind of feel comfortable.
Oh yeah. All right.
Yeah. I'm on that let Yannick walk train as well. Yannick could be a phenomenal talent in so many other teams. I don't think he's, I don't think it's worth it keeping him on the Colts roster when we can go get someone else. But like Landon said, he could be a plug and play for so many teams. Like the Panthers, they're good at rushing. He can come off the bench and be phenomenal for them. The Steelers, the Titans can get him. I mean, there's so many teams that can use Yannick. That's not starting wise ability. But I do think he can be good elsewhere. I definitely think we should let him walk because we could have got Hurricane Dio more minutes than Yannick, if we're being honest.
Hey man, Hurricane Dio starting to come along a little bit here. All right, he's starting to show some of that power that he showed that he put on tape at Vanderbilt. That got him a what was it, number?
I think he was
Overall, I can't think, but he was a second round draft pick. Here's another one. Now, here the next two are very interesting. Okay, they are very interesting. One of them is probably not much of a discussion at all, and the next one I think can be a discussion, but it's very murky. DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner. He's a All-Pro defensive tackle. Is somebody willing to give up 2 first-round picks for him? Somebody trying to go get a Super Bowl right now, need defensive line help, need to stabilize the middle. I guess I could go first on this. I don't think so. I don't think so. With just given the latest history of defensive linemen staying in their prime into their 30s. I mean, hell, look at freaking Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. I mean, these guys, they have continued to produce. And if DeForest Buckner can keep doing that, I see his money. His money is being worth it. Kwity Paye is going to come along. Dio Dengbo could come along. And DeForest Buckner, I think he would be worth it. I wouldn't trade him unless somebody was offering me multiple first-round picks. Landon, where are you at?
Yeah, I'm not trading DeForest Buckner. And nobody's going to offer multiple first-round picks, especially with that contract and the positional value of defensive tackle. While I mean, it might be Chris Ballard's, the engine that runs this team. That's, it's not the engine that runs most defenses. So. Yeah, I'm not trading Buckner for sure. What is he? 28 years old. I mean,
I think he's 29. I want to say
29. Yeah,
so much time left.
So I mean, yeah, he's probably got a good at least 4 or 5 years.
Of
strong play.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not trading Bug.
Marcus,
unless he comes to. I'm sorry. I was gonna say unless he comes to me and says, "I'm not playing for you. I want out." Because he doesn't want to go through a full rebuild at his age, I wouldn't trade.
And
I wouldn't blame him if he approached the Colts that way as well. I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, me neither. Especially how adamant he is after every game, talking about it's embarrassing and we suck. I think he's the only one that's more vocal than anyone about these games, how close they are to winning, because he's putting in his all. I mean, besides Grover Stewart, that is a dynamic duo you just cannot break up, and especially if you have an opportunity to keep both of them. I will not move DeForest Buckner. I would give away anybody else, besides Grover Stewart, of course. But I definitely would agree of keeping DeForest Buckner on that line if we can, because he's definitely worth it for sure. He's a dominant force.
And the next one is probably the obvious. We've talked about it. Shaquille Leonard. I was about to call him the other name, but Shaquille Leonard. All right. Unfortunately, this was not the year we had all hoped it would be, not just for the Colts, but for himself. And most importantly, this is not the year Shaquille had hoped for himself. Getting that surgery in the offseason before training camp, thinking and hoping that the situation was clear, done, fixed. And for some reason, this issue isn't going away. It's just not going away. And I've been on record that, hell, even before going on IR and having to have another procedure done, I was already on record. You got to do something before it gets fixed, and you can't do anything with it. Playing the linebacker position is a very dangerous position to play. It's a lot of injury history related to that position. And at this point, I am more scared for Shaquille the person rather than I am Shaquille the player. That's where I am with him now, because I kind of look at it, kind of a little bit of a difference, but if he's not careful with how he handles it. Dirk Nowitzki talks about he played in the NBA for 21 seasons. Well, he's been adamant that maybe the last 2 years he stayed in the NBA wasn't worth it because now as a dad, a father of 3, he can't really do some of the things he wants to do with his kids. Like, he is from Germany. Germany, soccer is the biggest sport out there. He can't even play soccer with his kids. He can't even perform and participate in day-to-day activities as a father because of what the sport did to him for so long, and he didn't give it up, and he didn't know when it was time to walk away. I'm scared for Shaquille Leonard, even though he's 27 at this point. Injuries are mounting on him like he is now 35 years old. So in the event, now with him on IR, procedure done, no one is giving you a first-round pick for him. In this offseason, because I'm not getting a first-round pick for Shaquille Leonard, I am going to bank on him returning to form rather than just giving him away for 2 third-round picks. That's just me. I think him being the heart and soul of the team matters to that extent when you factor in we're not getting any first-round picks. If we were, then the conversation would change for me. I don't know if it would change for Chris Ballard. I don't know if it would change for Landon or Marcus. But for me, the conversation would change. But as of now, this is a big topic. I'm pretty sure it's going to be one that's going to be discussed in the offseason when it wraps up. But me personally, with everything factored into it, I am team keep Shaquille Leonard. As long as keeping him doesn't prevent us from bringing back Bobby or Zaire, or Zaire's already here, but as long as it doesn't prevent us from bringing back Bobby Okereke, then I'm holding on to Shaquille Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, there's a good chance it does prevent us from bringing back Bobby Okereke. But I'm in the same boat. I'm not trading Shaquille Leonard. I'm not moving him. Not only what he brings on the field when healthy, and that's a guy that I am going to bank on working to get healthy. But what he brings in the locker room, what he brings to the city, he just means too much to the franchise just to jettison him out, at the first sign of, did we not learn a lesson from Peyton Manning? Have we not learned anything from guys that, struggle with a major injury and we just cast them off, depending on what they mean to the franchise and what they mean to the city. And, the last time we did that came back to bite us in the ass. And I'm not making that same mistake again.
I think it's a little different. One played quarterback, one played linebacker. His job is to hit people every down. It's a little different, but I understand.
It's different, but it's still the same. It's still
understand the point of what you're saying.
And like Peyton Manning at the time too. Remember, like not only was a quarterback, but he was also into his 30s as well. So
I think he was 36.
I don't know, not at the time of it was mid 30s, 30.
Oh, like 34. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, he's 27 years old. I mean, like we're not talking about a guy that's 33, 34 who's could possibly never play the game again. I mean, this is a dude that we know what kind of a worker he is. Like we know he will do everything in his power to get back to 100% and be out there on that field. And we see, as great as the defense has been, we see what it's like without him. I mean, like he's almost single-handedly creating turnovers. And what happened the first game he was out there? He played one game. What happened? Interception, turnover. First game, he's back. The guy is just too valuable. Like he's not a normal inside linebacker.
Mike, did you say something?
I was gonna say he allowed a touchdown on the second play of the game. That's legitimately what I was gonna say, but he did get a turnover, even though it was probably the easiest interception of his life because it was thrown directly at him. He was there at the right. That's what I was gonna say.
It doesn't matter. You still got to catch the ball.
Just saying, Landon. I mentioned it.
And Darius Leonard has hands. He has hands.
I mentioned it.
Catch the ball. I mean, it's not like it just lands in your lap. But I mean, it's he's just. But we've seen it. It's more than just this one game. I mean, this is his whole career
since his rookie year.
Yeah, I mean, it's every year. He's just way more valuable than a normal inside linebacker. Like he is.
I think he had in his second game, I believe sorry to cut you off. I think it was against his second game against the Washington. He had 19 tackles in that game.
Yeah. He's too good. He's a good player. He's a great ambassador for the city. He's a great ambassador for the franchise. Hard worker, locker room leader, everything you want in a player. I mean, like if we had a team of 53 Shaquille Leonards and they weren't all on IR because we wouldn't be able to fill the team. But if they were healthy Shaquille Leonards and we had 53 of them, we win a lot of football games.
Yeah, I'm just glad that Landon reached my point that I made a while ago with Mike in the elite chat a while ago. Hey, but it is what it is. Like, I'm not getting rid of Shaquille. I think Mike already knew because we talked about it before. But it's again, he mentioned it. But he's a playmaker, man. Like he's a dog. And if we get an opportunity to see him fully healthy, I want to take that risk. I'm willing to do that. And he's one of those guys you do it with. Of course, if it was anybody else, it's probably like, nah, due to their recent numbers or what they do on the field. But Shaquille Leonard fully healthy, I'm rolling the dice on that scenario. Then you'll play cards with that after that. But for sure, Shaquille is a guy I would want on the field fully healthy to see what he does potentially. Because I think he's a playmaker for sure, man. I'm willing to take that risk. I win, Mike. Just saying.
Bruh, Chris Ballard gave Mo Alley Cox 3 years, $18 million.
What's that got to do with Shaquille Leonard?
I'm sorry. I just can't get that damn thing out of my head. I can't. Like, how, dude? But Shaquille Leonard, yes. He is quite possibly the face of this franchise with no quarterback. He is responsible for more than half of the turnovers that have been created for the Colts defense. He is responsible for maybe more than 50% of those. So I will specify once again, because nobody is offering first round picks, I'm not getting rid of him, and I'm banking on him getting healthy. What does healthy look like for Darius Leonard or Shaquille Leonard? I'm sorry, Shaquille Leonard at this point, I don't know, but do not step foot back on this damn complex until you are 90, 100% healthy. That's just the bottom line to it. I hope and pray, I pray that these things are behind him now. No more procedures, no more, oh, we don't know what's going on, we can't find it, or anything that the Colts have dropped injury-wise in the past. I hope it's all behind him. I really do, because if I could show y'all, my literally laptop screensaver wallpaper is Shaquille Leonard. And I'm not lying about that. So, Marcus, what's up?
I will say, like I said, with this Colts team, they are very good at not knowing what the real injury is until it's too late. So, again, we will pray for Shaquille Leonard, but this isn't our first rodeo with non-realistic injuries of what the real cause is. So,
shame on you.
Yeah. Just saying.
Oh my God. Hey, anybody got an update on Cardinals Patriots? We're gonna treat this like a gambling
13 with
13. All right, we're all Colt McCoy fans tonight. All right, we're all Colt McCoy fans. So other than that, guys, before we get out of here, we are gonna be back later on to talk about Colts and Vikings. Colts, don't mess this up, please.
Man, I missed the bye week.
Just be the Colts. Don't mess it up. Don't mess it up. Please don't mess it up. But according to Jeff Saturday, 4 very, very winnable games. Matt Ryan is still the starting quarterback. So take with that what you will. This is like Landon said earlier, this is good news for us, for the franchise. This is good news. So before we get out of here, guys, anything else that we have on our mind that we want to talk about?
Me grittying.
You what?
Hitting the gritty.
Hitting the gritty.
The giddy?
The gritty.
You know
The Justin Jefferson dance?
Oh, okay,
how am I the whitest person on this podcast? And I know
I
that.
don't know about Mike sometimes. I'm telling you, Landon, I swear.
bruh.
He
I
put
hit
mayo in his
the
coffee.
I hit the Mike Gesicki gritty though. I hit that white boy gritty,
I was about to say, but okay,
the white boy gritty.
my bad. Okay,
I know.
Stop putting mayo in your coffee, dude.
what?
You put
Well,
mayo in your coffee. That's why
I'll tell you
you
what. If the Colts, I'll put this on the podcast.
Nah,
right
he puts the avocado oil mayonnaise.
You gotta put the
That's
healthy
what he
mayonnaise, not the sunflower.
Yeah,
if
not
Will
the
Levis
fat.
gets drafted by the Colts on our draft show live, I will put mayonnaise in coffee and I will drink it.
You know how we have Grover Stewart wings? Bro, we gonna start serving freaking Will Levis coffee.
If the Colts draft Will Levis,
oh my gosh!
Live on stream, I will put mayonnaise in my coffee.
If we draft Will Levis, you will put mayonnaise in your coffee.
100%, I'll do it.
Okay,
I'm gonna
put it on the board. Put it on the board.
I think there's a really good chance we draft Will Anderson, so I'm not gonna join you on that. But what I will say,
Will Anderson or Will Levis?
Shit, give me either one. Honestly, give me either one. I'm good with either. Honestly, I love defense too much. I kind of catch myself watching the defensive players a little bit too much because I know we're not going to go that route. Maybe, but other than that, guys, man, this show has been fun. Feel like I haven't talked to you guys in a while. Feel like we have an actor. Can't even talk, bro. I'm about to start class here in like the next 3 weeks. I need to get it together, but feels like we haven't interacted with you guys, the fans, the Colts fans, talking football with you guys for a while. So thank you for being patient with us. Thank you for being here with us, talking NFL draft. And trust me, we are going to have an entire offseason of this. I can't wait for our series playing GM of the Indianapolis Colts, where myself, Landon, Marcus, each of us individually are going to have a whole show to ourselves to pave a path of what we would do as general manager of the Indianapolis Colts. Free agent signings, trades, coaching hires, draft selections, you name it. I'm already getting the plan together. And you already know what the first move is going to be. You already know what the move is going to be, bro. I'm mailing his locker to VCU. You can pick your things up in Virginia, okay? But guys, it is going to be fun. We can't wait to do it here with you guys as well. So again, if you like the Blue Stable, if you want to support us, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you're always commenting and subscribe to our YouTube. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, Spotify, make sure you hit a 5-star review and leave us, give us a response. Leave us a review. It always helps us out, guys. We are here for you. We are here to talk to you, interact with you. I can't wait. Colts have disappointed me, but hopefully other sports in my life were taking care of my happiness. So, guys, we love you. Landon, do you love the fans?
Of course I love the fans. Of course.
As much as you love mayonnaise?
I mean, I don't dislike mayonnaise. I like fans more than mayonnaise, probably, though. It depends, though. Mayonnaise on a BLT or a fried bologna sandwich.
Man, stop ruining food. Y'all white people like to put sour cream, ranch, mayonnaise. Like, just eat food.
All three of those things are good.
Man, boy,
you tell me you don't like sour cream? Aren't you Hispanic? You don't put sour cream on like tacos or nachos?
You look like the throw up emoji to me right now.
Man, you are.
That's what you look like to me right now. Ugh, sour cream. What is that?
You like one of those kids that like you go out to a nice dinner and you get chicken tenders and fries.
No, that's my brother. That is my brother. That is you. Oh my no, that's not me. I'm gonna get.
Mom, what are we having tonight? Ooh,
I'm gonna get a good steak. If I have to ask for anyone, the steak is not good enough. So that's what I do. Maybe a little bit of asparagus, maybe broccolini in there.
There's no chance you eat asparagus and you don't like sour cream or ranch.
I put Tabasco sauce on my asparagus. So what's good?
That makes perfect. Yeah, that makes sense.
Why? Because I'm Mexican. I can't do ketchup. I got to do hot sauce.
Balsamic vinaigrette and garlic.
Oh no, we need to get your white ass out of here. Marcus, balsamic. Hey, man, this is turning into like Hell's Kitchen or something like this. But balsamic,
You're missing out.
man, I had to do a spoonful of that over a bet. I had to do a spoonful of that, man.
Balsamic vinegar?
Over a bet, I had to do a spoonful.
You ever had like a nice piece of French bread, Italian loaf, and then you put olive oil, like good quality olive oil. I'm not talking about that Walmart shit you probably buy. I'm about good olive oil. And you mix some red pepper flakes, some garlic, and a couple splashes of balsamic vinegar in it.
No oregano.
Yeah, you put some oregano in there. Yeah,
I was about to say, y'all white people don't know how to season.
Yeah, mix that up. Dip your bread in it. Eat the bread.
Hey man, I'm always good for some good Italian bread. I'm always good for that.
Yeah.
I'm down. Where's the lamb? Hey, where's the lamb sauce? Let's get it, man. This is the Blue Stable, not the freaking Country Stable or the. Man, we can talk about food all day. You know, I made some fried chicken last night.
See, there you go. Chicken. Exactly. Right there. Chicken.
Made some fried chicken last night, boy.
You got French fries with it?
Nah, technically, yeah, but they were fresh cut potato wedges.
Potato wedges.
Yep. Got some olive oil, got a brush, you know, drizzle a little bit, get some of that.
My point is proven.
So, hey, man, here's my number one rule. If you ain't sneezing, you ain't seasoning, all right? That's how it goes, okay? Other than guys, let's get the heck out of here, man. Landon Oliver, as always, guys, he is going to be our draft guru. He is going to be the guy that you want to listen to. Make sure you're following him for film reviews, draft analysis on Twitter. Marcus. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to – I'm just kidding, Marcus. Make sure you follow him, all right, at Culture Shock on Twitter, and myself, Michael Pivia, TBS on Twitter as well, guys. We love you guys. We want to keep talking to you. We can't wait to keep talking draft and why Tyree Wilson should be drafted over Will Levis. So we can't wait to discuss that as well. So, guys, we love y'all. See y'all later.